Watkins, Caitlin Clark and Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. This is what the story.
Has college basketball just found its next unstoppable force, or is the hype getting out of control? Juju Watkins didn't just walk into USC. She stormed in, lit the scoreboard on fire, and left everyone scrambling for answers.
A bit crazy. She's a basketball genius. She cares. She understands the sport. She's playing with a bunch of teammates that just don't share her passion. And she really didn't have any close friends.
A freshman putting up numbers that seasoned players only dream about? That's not normal, but Juju made it look easy. Game after game, she dropped 20, 30, sometimes even 40 points like it was nothing. The media called it history in the making. Fans called it the rise of a queen, but not everyone is sold.
For USC, Juju Watkins, Kaya Padilla, Mackenzie Forbes, and Caitlin Davis, all three from the Ivy League.
As the spotlight grew, so did the comparisons, and suddenly, every headline had the same name next to hers, Caitlin Clark. That's right, the same Caitlin Clark who shattered scoring records, changed how people watched women's hoops, and pretty much became the face of college basketball overnight. Now, people are whispering, could Juju actually be better?
She had a chance to do this. She's from Baltimore. She originally went to Maryland. After 2 years, she decided to bounce.
At first glance, it sounds ridiculous. Clark's been the golden child for years. But then you look at the stats. Juju's scoring more at this stage than Clark did. She's stronger, faster, and plays like she's already in the pros. And she's just getting started.
She was named to the Wooden Award late season top 20. She needs some empty space on the shelf too. Rolling to the basket for an easy two.
But here's where it gets tricky. Clark didn't just score, she owned the court. Her logo threes, her court vision, her passing, that wasn't just skill, that was dominance. Juju, she's more brute force. She attacks the basket like she's got something to prove. She doesn't finesse her way around defenders, she bullies them. And that's what has fans divided, because while Juju might outscore Clark, there's one thing she hasn't figured out, how to take over a game when her shot stops falling. And if you're trying to break records, you can't just disappear when the defense gets tight.
She may end up being as good, if not better, than Caitlin Clark. You know, she's a 6'1", 6'2". She's got a really good handle. She's a better athlete than Caitlin Clark. But let me walk you through the difference between Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins, Caitlin Clark and Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
So yeah, the stats are shiny. The buzz is deafening. But what happens when the pressure kicks in and the target on your back gets bigger? That's where things start to unravel. And what happened next? That's where the cracks started to show. The first real test? Notre Dame, and they didn't come to play. Up until then, Juju looked untouchable. USC was riding high, undefeated, and the hype train had no brakes. But Notre Dame didn't care about the headline. They came with a game plan, shut Juju down, no matter what it took. And they did. From the jump, Juju looked rattled. 5 points in the first half? For someone averaging nearly 27? That wasn't just a bad game, that was a red flag. Notre Dame's defense swarmed her. Sonia Citron was all over her like glue, switching off with longer, quicker defenders to keep her guessing. Every screen was met with pressure. Every drive had a body waiting. She couldn't breathe, couldn't move, and for the first time all season, she couldn't lead. It was brutal. But even more revealing was how exposed her game looked when her physicality didn't work. No mid-range fallback, no way to shift the tempo, just forced shots, broken plays, and 21 team turnovers that turned into a 13-point loss. And here's the part no one wants to admit. Caitlin Clark would have adjusted. She's faced those moments, got double-teamed, locked down, and still found a way to take over. Juju? She looked lost. Sure, she ended the game with 24 points, but let's not pretend it wasn't padded in garbage time. Notre Dame had already made their point, and the basketball world was watching. But as bad as that loss looked on paper, it wasn't just about one game. It was about what it exposed, because what came after would raise even more questions. The cracks weren't just on the court, they were in the hype itself. After the Notre Dame loss, the narrative started shifting. Fast. What once looked like a fairy tale rookie season started to feel like a carefully crafted illusion. Because for all of Juju's highlights, one thing was missing: consistency when it mattered most.
Jason, I would argue and me being the women's college basketball historian that I am, that young lady there in Iowa City did more with less than anybody. And people say, well, she's like Pistol Pete Maravich.
Caitlin Clark, she built her legacy in the clutch. Deep threes with the game on the line. Triple doubles in championship game. She didn't just show up, she owned the moment. Juju, she disappeared when her team needed her most. And worse, she didn't make her teammates better. That's not just an opinion, it's in the numbers. Clark, in her freshman year, averaged 7.1 assists per game. Juju, barely 3.3. This isn't just about scoring, it's about impact. Clark was the engine. Juju, right now, she's a solo act. And when the act goes cold, so does the team. And that raises the uncomfortable question no one's saying out loud. Is Juju just a highlight machine or a true leader? Because let's be real, anyone can go viral. But can you carry a team through March? Can you adapt when your first plan fails? Can you lift everyone around you when the pressure gets nasty? That's what separates the greats from the flashes.
I'm just curious as a player, do you, when we're like in the media or like fans online are making a big deal out of this, do you even care about stuff like that? Is it noteworthy to you?
No, not really. It's cool though. Like sometimes I'll see it, I'll be like, oh wow, I didn't.
But just when it looked like Juju was out of the game, she reminded everyone who she was. This isn't just sports, it's history in the making. Click subscribe if you want to witness it unfold in real time.
Player winning. The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her, because the way she has dominated the record books when she was at Iowa was something you can.
Now let's talk about the game in details for a minute here. The first half was rough. 5 points, frustration all over her face. Cameras caught her shaking her head, walking off the court like the weight of the world was on her shoulder. For most players, that's the breaking point. But Juju, she didn't fold. She came out in the second half angry, aggressive, focused. Notre Dame kept the pressure high, but Juju started finding gaps, hitting tough shots, and forcing her way back into the fight. She dropped 19 points in that half alone, 19. Her shots weren't always pretty, but they started falling. And every bucket sent a message: you might slow me down, but you can't stop me.
If Juju was allowed to come out in the draft, Fever they will regret that they took Caitlin Clark number 1.
By the final buzzer, she had 24 points, nearly silent, but deadly. The scoreboard said USC lost by 13, but the stat sheet said Juju never stopped swinging. And maybe that's what separates her. Not just the numbers, not just the talent, but the refusal to disappear completely. Even when the defense had her locked, even when the game slipped away, she kept coming.
Caitlin is great. Yeah. He's not.
But grit alone won't win championships. And what fans started whispering next changed everything. Because grit is great, but it's not enough when the spotlight is this blinding. Let's be honest, scoring 24 points after a 5-point first half? That's impressive. It shows heart. It shows fire. But in Juju's case, it also shows something else: how high the bar has been set. For most players, a 24-point night against a top 5 team would be a career highlight. For Juju, it's barely enough to silence critics for a day. That's the price of being hyped as the next Caitlin Clark.
That girl Juju, she is the real deal.
This isn't just about stats anymore. It's about dominance. Caitlin Clark didn't become a household name by just putting up points. She took over games. She turned pressure into fuel. She made defenses look foolish. She made the court hers. And when she had an off night, it never lasted. She adjusted. She found ways to win anyway. Juju's bounce back in the second half showed potential, but not control. She fought, sure, but she didn't command the game. She didn't elevate her teammates. She didn't shift the momentum. She survived. But Clark would have turned that game upside down. And here's where it gets real. The comparison isn't just media noise. It's everywhere. On Twitter, in the stands, in the locker room. Every move Juju makes is weighed against Clark's legacy, and the weight is getting heavier. Every missed pass becomes a talking point. Every turnover gets dissected. She's not just playing for wins anymore. She's playing to prove she's not overhyped.
Watkins ain't the same as Caitlin Clark. Playing in Los Angeles at USC is not the same as playing at Iowa. Well, Caitlin.
And when you're being treated like the future of women's basketball, the public doesn't wait. They want results now, not later. Not in her junior year. Now. But so far, here's the reality: Juju's built to score, but she hasn't proven she can lead. Her assist numbers? Underwhelming. Her poise under pressure? Still shaky. Her ability to control a game from start to finish like Clark? Not there yet. And when the offense stalls, she doesn't have that second gear that Clark mastered, the ability to create something out of nothing. And that's the part no one's saying out loud. Is Juju one-dimensional? Because you can't just muscle through every game. Not when teams are game planning just for you. Not when the defense adjusts and your plan A stops working. That's when the greats pull out plan B, plan C, and everything in between. So far, Juju's only shown one gear, scoring. And yes, she's doing that better than almost anyone. But when that gear stalls, what's left? That's why fans, analysts, and even former players are watching her closely. They're not just rooting for her, they're testing her. Every game is a pass or fail, and no one wants to see a star rise fast, only to burn out even faster. Because here's the truth, basketball doesn't care about hype, and neither does history. If Juju wants to be remembered like Caitlin Clark, like Diana Taurasi, like the legends, she needs to become more than just a bucket. She needs to become the force that makes her team unbeatable. Until then, the noise won't stop, the doubts won't fade, and the pressure? It'll only get worse, because the next time she steps on the court with Caitlin Clark, there won't be any excuses. No, she's just a sophomore. No, she's still learning. It'll be legacy versus expectation, and the world will be watching.
In the grow, heads have to be cut off.
Yeah.
Period. Right? The NBA does it all the time. You see Wemby, right, with the new.
Because when the moment finally arrives, it won't be about who scores more. It'll be about who owns it. Because while Juju fights to prove she belongs, Caitlin Clark is already rewriting the rules of the game. Let's be honest, when it comes to offense, Clark's not just better, she's on a different planet. She doesn't need to attack the rim to scare defenders. She barely needs to cross half court. One dribble, a pull-up from the logo, and the arena erupts. Her shooting range is so ridiculous, teams start panicking before she even sets her feet. And that panic? It opens everything else. But that's just the beginning. Because Clark isn't just a scorer, she's a surgeon. Her court vision is insane. Double her? She finds the cutter. Collapse the paint? She hits the open shooter without even looking. In her freshman year alone, she averaged 7.1 assists per game, nearly double Juju's 3.3. That's not a small gap. That's the difference between a scorer and a floor general. Juju's great at getting bucket, no question. But when her shot isn't falling, what else is she giving you? Can she control the pace? Can she turn a double team into an easy assist? Because Clark does it every night. She doesn't just score, she orchestrates. And here's where the comparison gets brutal. Juju's game relies on physicality. She powers her way inside, crashes the glass, uses her strength to muscle through defenders. But that only works when teams aren't prepared. Once they adjust, like Notre Dame did, she struggles to create space. She doesn't stretch the floor. She doesn't punish you from deep. She becomes predictable. Clark? There's nothing predictable about her. She can torch you from 30 feet, or fake you out and drop a dime for an easy two. She's unguardable because she's unreadable. And that kind of offensive versatility? That's the reason she's not just setting records, she's setting the standard. So the real question becomes, is Juju chasing a legacy she can't touch? Because the gap in scoring style, basketball IQ, and playmaking is growing. And if she doesn't evolve fast, this rivalry might not just be one-sided. It might be over before it even begins. Because if there's one thing Juju has that Clark never quite mastered, it's defense. Let's give credit where it's due. While Caitlin Clark dominates with the ball in her hands, Juju makes her presence felt even without it. Her defensive stats tell the story: 2.3 steals and 1.6 blocks per game. Those aren't just good numbers, those are elite. Clark, she averaged 1.3 steals and half a block. That's not bad, but let's be real, it's not even close. Clark's game has always been about offense, but defense, it's her weakest link. She's often hidden on the less dangerous player. And when teams go right at her, the results are obvious. You can score on Clark, but Juju, you go at her, you're asking for trouble. She's bigger, stronger, faster on the recovery. Her 6 feet 2 inches frame, combined with quick hands and raw athleticism, makes her a nightmare for opposing guards. She reads passing lanes, contests shots without fouling, and doesn't shy away from physical play. Her defense doesn't just slow people down, it disrupts game. And that's something Clark never brought to the table. Juju's ability to impact both ends of the floor is what's keeping her in the conversation. Because when her offense stumbles, her defense still punches. When the shots aren't falling, she's still racking up steals, forcing turnovers, and protecting the rim. That's a two-way threat. That's a rare trait. But here's the catch. For all her defensive greatness, the question still lingers: can she lead like Clark? because defense can't carry a team when the offense collapses. And even though Juju guards better, rebounds harder, and swats shots like a pro, she hasn't yet proven she can take over every part of the game like Clark does. Still, if Watkins ever finds a way to combine her defense with Clark-level offensive efficiency, that's when the conversation changes. But until then, she's the better defender, not the better player. Because no matter how hard Juju tries to catch up, Clark's numbers are still out of reach. Let's talk facts. Juju Watkins might have outscored Caitlin Clark early in her college career, but that's where the celebration ends. Because when it comes to how those points are being scored, the gap between them becomes impossible to ignore. Clark didn't just put up big numbers, she rewrote what scoring in women's college basketball even looked like. 2 seasons, over 2,700 points. Let that sink in. She averaged over 30 points per game, hitting step-back logo threes like layups. In her junior and senior years alone, she drained 341 three-pointers, the most in a 2-year span in Division I history. No one, man or woman, was even close. Now compare that to Juju. In 60 games, she's hit just 122 threes. That's not even half of what Clark accomplished in that same window. And it's not just volume, it's efficiency. Clark stretched defenses to the breaking point. Teams had to guard her 30 feet from the rim, which opened up the paint for her teammates. Juju? She's still working inside the arc, driving into traffic, forcing tough shots. It works, sometimes, but it's predictable. And predictable doesn't break records. Even if Watkins keeps up her pace, she'd still need to elevate to Clark's 30-point per game level just to stay in the race. Right now, she's stuck at 25.9, and the margin keeps growing. Her style is powerful, sure, but Clark's is explosive, efficient, and nearly impossible to guard. And that's the truth no one wants to say out loud. You can't outscore someone who makes scoring look effortless. So while Juju's numbers look shiny, Clark's, they look historic. Because this rivalry isn't just about college hoops anymore, it's about legacy. And who's really built to last. The media's already painting the future, Juju Watkins versus Caitlin Clark, the clash that's supposed to carry the WNBA into a new era. Big names like Jason Whitlock have already said it out loud, Juju is a light-skinned Michael Jordan in female form. Bold, right? Some even say if Clark and Angel Reese are Magic and Bird, then Juju is the next MJ. And it's not just talk, brands are betting on it. Nil deals, national commercials, courtside A-listers showing up just to watch her hoop. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Legacy isn't built on hype. It's built on heartbreak, comebacks, and championships. And so far, Clark's already checked more boxes. She didn't just light up the NCAA, she changed it. Her style of play? Iconic. Her impact on ticket sales? Game-changing. She brought millions of eyes to women's basketball without a marketing machine behind her. Just game. Juju's still in that early phase. The future superstars tag, the fashion shoots, the IG followers growing by the thousand. But legacy? That's earned. You don't get compared to Michael Jordan because of flash. You earn that comparison by dominating everything in your path. And while the idea of this rivalry lifting the WNBA is exciting, there's a difference between momentum and greatness. Clark's already delivered. Juju? She's still being packaged, because no matter how many analysts push the narrative, you can't fake legacy. You can't Photoshop rings, force rivalries, or shortcut respect. You earn it, one pressure-packed game at a time. And right now, Juju's still in Clark's shadow. The media might be trying to crown her early, but the court always tells the truth. Because whether you're Team Clark or Team Juju, one thing's crystal clear, women's basketball will never be the same. This rivalry? It's bigger than two players. It's fueling a movement. Every viral clip, every courtside celebrity, every packed arena is proof that this game isn't just growing, it's exploding. And at the center of it all, two stars with completely different styles, stories, and legacies forming in real time. Juju Watkins may still be finding her way, but she's undeniable. Her rise, her presence, her raw power, it's forcing people to pay attention in ways we've never seen from a college freshman. And Caitlin Clark? She's already changed the game. She didn't ask for the spotlight. She earned it with every logo 3 and every record-shattering performance. Together, they're doing something no marketing campaign ever could. They're making women's basketball must-watch. And this is just the beginning. Because the question isn't just who's better, it's how far can this go? Will Juju finally evolve into the force everyone's claiming she'll be? Will Clark's name be the one etched in stone when the WNBA looks back on this era? Or will someone else rise and shake everything up again? One thing's for sure, You don't want to miss what's coming next. If you're ready to follow every twist in this rivalry, every record-breaking night, and every moment that could redefine the sport, hit that subscribe button now. We're just getting started. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.